Got that mirrored. All right. All right. We are live on all the platforms. So we are going to get started. Do me a favor on TikTok. Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I have a mic this time, and I want to make sure that it's working properly. So if you're watching me on TikTok, please, no sound. Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me on TikTok? Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Can you guys hear me on TikTok? Let me know if you're what. Okay. All right. All right. You can probably hear me now. I'm assuming you guys can hear me on TikTok now. I was trying to run a lapel mic to get a little bit better audio, but I got to do some. Can you guys? You should be able to hear me now on TikTok. If you can't hear me on TikTok, okay, cool. All right, guys, thanks for jumping on here. We're going to be talking today about what do you do if you got too many leads. A lot of times we talk about how to get leads, but once we get leads, how do we handle that, right? Which is ultimately where we want to go. We want to get to the point to where we have too many leads coming in. So if you're not getting enough leads right now, this may not be as beneficial, but you may want to hang out because you may learn some things so that whenever the leads do start coming in, you can start putting some things in place. So this is a follow-up from my podcast that dropped this morning. It's episode 104 on Too Many Leads Do This. If you guys aren't listening to my podcast, you need to go and subscribe. I am on Spotify and all the other iTunes and all those. Go start listening to my podcast. I put a ton of content in there. Like I said, we're on episode 104 today. So over 2 years worth of podcasting on there. Good stuff. So what do you do if you have too many leads? Well, the first thing you need to do is identify if you're getting too many leads that are bad or too many leads that are good. Because ultimately, we want to get to the point to where we're having too many good leads and very few bad leads. And the only difference between a good lead and really a bad lead is going to be in your marketing message. And I'm not going to go too deep into, or I'm not going to get into it all about marketing. But if your marketing is not set up correctly, then you're going to attract the wrong people. I'll give you an example of a very simple example. A lot of times I talk to contractors that are looking for help and I ask them information and I find out what's the name of your business. And the name of their business is Affordable Carpentry or, discount landscaping. Like that's the name of their business. And if that's the name of your business, you've already shot yourself in the foot. Now there's schools of thought about using it as a tactic because you could say you're, cheap landscaping, but really you're not cheap. So people call you because they think they're going to get a cheap landscape project done, but really you're, middle of the road or more expensive. And so it could be like a marketing ploy. The problem with that is that if people truly think you're cheap and they call you and then they've talked to two other contractors and you end up being the most expensive or whatever, then they know you're full of crap and it actually hurts your reputation. It does work for certain industries better, more so than others, but it's just not a good idea. It's not a good idea to have anything that says you're cheap or affordable or discounted in your price. If that's you, start looking to rebrand as soon as possible because you're not going to attract good clients. Now, what happens to a lot of us and why we end up having too many leads of bad clients is because when we started our business, most of us don't have unlimited budget. Most of us aren't going out there and getting full vehicle wraps, professionally done websites, all this stuff. We're not dropping $20,000-$30,000 from the start to brand our business, right? Most of us start and we're like working for friends and family on the side, and then we get enough work so we start doing it full time, and then we're posting on Craigslist and Facebook and all these like low hanging fruit type jobs just because we're trying to get our name established. The problem with that is that if you don't start with higher clientele, you're doing work for lower quality leads, and you're probably underpriced when you start because you don't have as much overhead, and honestly because you don't really know what you're doing yet. You don't know how to price to stay in business. Is that you're doing jobs for lower quality leads, and then those people are recommending you to other lower quality leads because we all, set birds of the same feather flock together. You're not going to have typically you're not going to have a low quality lead recommending a high quality lead. It can happen, but that's just typically not what happens. And so as you're starting, you're building your business, your book of business on lower quality leads. And then, whether it's 6 months or 6 years, it doesn't matter the time frame. As you start to raise your prices, you start to lose some of these lower quality leads, which is a good thing. But you're also cutting out all of the leads that are coming in because you haven't built the reputation yet of higher quality leads. And so as you build your business, as you build your brand, you start attracting higher quality leads. But that's like starting over from scratch. If I could put it in terms of like levels, 1 being the crappiest level lead and 10 being the best level lead, when we start our business, we're at 1 and 2. Like that's where we're at with our leads. As we develop and we mature in our business and we understand marketing and we understand value and we're raising our prices, we need to ascend to higher quality leads. So now we start to move up to 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and so on and so on. But every time you ascend a level, you're going to lose, 1 or 2 levels below you. It's just the nature of it. And so as you're marketing your business and you're getting better quality leads, you lose more leads. And so you have to make this transition to where you're actually not recruiting, but you're actually marketing to higher quality leads. This is why you should never start marketing. You shouldn't, if your phone is ringing off the hook now, the answer is not remove all of your marketing and advertising. The answer is get better at your marketing and advertising, get more focused. If you're doing, let's say you're running Google ads right now or Facebook ads, it doesn't matter, and you're targeting the entire area that you live in, meaning let's say you're a landscaper and you're targeting the entire city that you live in and the whole area for anybody, any age bracket, any price point, any demographic, like just wide open. Then if you're getting too many crappy leads, then what you need to do is start narrowing in your marketing, and you go after the ideal customer. I've talked about this before on here, is that you need to have a customer avatar. You need to have a profile, if you will, of who your ideal customer is. And the best way to do that is, if you've been in business for 6 months to a year, go back and look at your customer list and find out who your favorite clients were to work for. Now, obviously, you don't want to like say this was the best person to work for, but it was the lowest quality, price. Like they wanted it done cheap, but they were just good people. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, these are the type of people that basically said, here's an empty check, here's a blank check. Just, when you're done with the project, fill out the check and let me know what it is. Like, those are the types that you want to work for, as well as if they're good people, right? Like, you may not want to work for a complete a-hole who's like, hey, I'll pay you whatever you want, but I'm going to call you 8 times a day and ask you where you're at and, micromanage every second of the day. Probably not a good customer. But when you go back and look at your best customers, you're like, if I could only work for these 10 customers for the rest of my life, just over and over, like I just only work for these 10 customers and that's it. Once you identified who these top customers are, then you deep dive into everything that you can find out about them. You stalk them. Like, you almost hire a private investigator to find out everything you can about them. That's an exaggeration, but I'm saying like that much. You find out where they live, what kind of jobs they do, what their family makeup is, what their hobbies are, what kind of cars they drive, how much money they make. Like, you find out as much information as you possibly can, and that is who you're going after. So if you're getting too many crappy leads, you need to tighten in your marketing and go after specific people. If you know exactly who your demographic you're going after is, you can run ads directly to that person. You can run ads directly to that demographic. And now you're going to start getting higher quality leads. Now, the backside of that is that if your business is not on point, if you don't have your crap together, if you don't have a decent looking website, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you don't have a decent looking website, if you don't look professional, in other words, then you're going to lose these higher quality people because they want to work with professionals. So as you elevate your game, like, you're not going to sell to a level 7 customer if your business is a level 2 business. It's just not going to happen. So you have to, as you elevate your business, you elevate your customer base, right? If you could start from the get-go, you would try to start out at like a level 7 appearance. Appearance is one thing, delivery is another thing. If you don't have the appearance down that you are a professional company, regardless of how good you are at the delivery system, you're not going to get that many people to call you organically or through organic channels, even like ads. It could be a referral. Somebody could refer you and say, yeah, they don't have it. They look like a crappy company, but they do an excellent job, and they may refer you. But as far as getting leads outside of the referral network, if you don't have the appearance of being a professional company, you're not going to attract professional level clients. It's just that simple. Now that we have that out of the way, you're getting too many clients. So what do? The first thing you do, if you're getting too many good clients, I just talked about how if you're having too many bad clients, you need to focus your marketing better. If you're having too many good clients, what you do is you put more friction in the sales process. What does that mean? Well, like, for example, if you have a website, you put your pricing on your website. You put case studies, or you put projects on your website. So if I am looking for, let's say, a room addition, I'm looking for a general contractor to add a master suite onto my house, and I go to your website, and you have a pricing guide on there, and you do room additions or add-ons, and you could put on there, master suite, roughly whatever, includes bathroom and bedroom and closet, master suite add-on, 20 by 20 foot or whatever it is. Like, you put some information on there, starts at $60,000 or whatever the pricing is. Doesn't matter. You put that on your website. So if I am looking to do a room addition and I go to your website and I see pricing guide on there, check out our pricing guide. And I go to your pricing guide and I see that the lowest package that you offer for room additions is $60,000. And I'm like, well, I don't want to spend more than 40. I'm not going to fill out a form. I'm not going to contact you because I don't want to spend that much money. Just because you have a higher quality client doesn't always mean that they don't have budgets, right? Sometimes people still have budgets, but you can pre-qualify people that way. So you can get rid of the weaker, lower level clients. Or you can do things like require more information. If on my website, I had a bunch of different questions that you would fill out, more so than like just a name and an email and a phone number. I'm asking, like, when do you want to get started on this project? How did you find out about us? You could ask, what's your budget? You could put in there, like, what's your budget level, and you could have a drop down or selection that could be, again, if you only focus on, let's say you just do decks, it's a little bit easier example. If you're just doing decks, you're a deck builder, and like, there's no way you could build the cheapest deck. The cheapest deck you do is 15 grand, just using it as an example. Then if you're asking what their budget is, you could put in there on your form, like, where is your budget? And you can have number 1, 15, which is the lowest, 15 to 20,000 or 20 to 25 or 25 to 30 or whatever. You have 4 or 5 options in there of like what's your budget, what's your target budget, and you can ask that question, but you can get that information. If people are not willing to fill out a bunch of extra questions, then they're not that serious about hiring you. That's how you create friction. Conversely, if you're not getting enough leads, then your form on your website should be like name, email, address, phone number, and scope of work. Like you need to have less friction if you're not getting enough leads coming in. But if you're getting too many leads coming in, you add more friction to the process. You add a more pre-qualification to the process. And that's how you can handle if you're getting too many good leads. It'll also weed out the bad leads too. But if you're getting too many good leads, then you put more friction in that process. And by the way, guys, if you have questions, throw them in the comments. That way I can answer them for you when I get done talking here in just a few minutes. I can't go too long today. I got to go pick up my son. But if you guys have questions about this topic or really about anything in general, I can help you out with those. So as I'm going through this, put them in there and I'll answer them for you. Let me take a drink. So you create more friction that way. You can have a better pre-qualification process. See, if you're getting too many leads and you're going out and doing free estimates all the time, if you're doing 10 estimates a week and you have, let's say, even if you have a 50% close rate, you're still wasting 5 trips a week. And those could be anywhere from, an hour to 3-hour long projects like estimates. So depending on what you do and how long your estimating process is, if you add in a phone pre-qualification process, now you can start to, instead of going out and doing 5 estimates a week that you're not going to get, you're doing 10 phone calls a week, right? But you're only going out and looking at 5 because you've eliminated the other 5 through your phone qualification process. So you can save time by adding a pre-qualification process. So if you put more friction in there to make it harder to do business with you, and then you add a pre-qualification process, you can eliminate a lot of these leads that, even if they're a good lead, let's say they're a level 10 lead, but they need it done in a month and you're 6 months out. Like it's not going to happen. And that could be a very simple, they fill out a form and you put on there, like on my form, I put, when are you hoping to get this done? In the next week, in the next month, ASAP, or whenever you're available. Like those are the 4 things that I put on there. So if a guy fills out the form, he's like, I need it done ASAP. And he submits the form, which comes to me as an email or goes into my CRM, and I check those every day or whatever my process is. I can simply email him back and say, hey, Steve, thanks for reaching out to us. I noticed you put on there you need this done within the month. We're currently booked up 6 months. Is that going to be a deal breaker? Right? I can just email him that. I can do that at 10 o'clock at night if I'm just wanting to check email. And I can email him and then wait for his response. And he's probably going to respond and say, oh man, yeah, we have to have this done because of X. Unfortunately, we're going to have to see if we can find somebody else. And so you can even pre-qualify them before you even get on the phone. Now, again, this is only if you're getting too many leads. We don't want to pre-qualify people that we could potentially convert. Or if they say, I want it done in 2 months and you're 3 months out, you could probably make that sale, right? Like that's close enough of a time frame that you could possibly make that work. I'm going to want to jump on a call with that person. But if I know it's like we're booked up for 6 months, 8 months, and they want it done next month, it's just not going to happen. Owner's a GC and he's doing the ordering. What now? I don't know what you mean there, Matt Thompson. I didn't see anything else you said. I just saw owner is a GC, so he's doing the ordering. I didn't see any other question or comment if you put that in there. Pricing a bathroom, material and labor, 75. So Clark 8080, you're pricing a bathroom, your material and labor is $7,500. That's your hard cost. I'm assuming this. So in other words, if you were to sell that job for $7,500, you would not make a penny. You would break even. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying? There's no additional charges on there. Then you would mark that up 100% and you would sell that job for 15,000. That's what you should mark it up, 15,000, and that's what your sale price is, 15,000. If you sell it at 15, you're going to make a gross profit of $7,500. Chris on Facebook, how would you build value if your price is on the website? They may see the price and not the value. Great question, Chris. So again, if you're getting high quality leads, your website itself, if it's professionally done, will portray some value. I mean, let's think about this for a second. How many of us have seen other contractors in our space and we see them at Lowe's, Home Depot, the building supply house, driving down the road at a customer's house? Maybe they're a different sub and they're working in on a job that we're working on or whatever. And you can just look at them, the way their vehicle looks, the way that they dress, the way they walk, the work ethic, the way they talk. You can just, without even talking to them directly, you can just tell that they're probably like not very good at their job, like probably on meth or something. It's the same with how you portray yourself to your customers. People are not dumb. We like to think that customers are dumb. They're not dumb. And so if they come to your website and it looks like a 5-year-old designed it using a template, off of WordPress, then that's not going to portray value. But if you put the information on the website, including your price, and I'm simplifying this a little bit, Chris, because it depends on what you do. But let's say you're a bathroom remodeler, okay? You're not just going to have one picture of a bathroom that you did, and then just say, bathroom remodeling starting at 6,000 or whatever. You're going to have a lot of information on there. You're going to have like what we call case studies. You're basically saying, here's a project that we did. Here's before pictures. Here's after pictures. Here are some of the challenges that we have with this project. Here's some considerations to be made. Here is the time frame it took. It took us 3 weeks or whatever. And then you can put more pictures of that project on there. You can also put like a scope of work of things that you did. That provides value. Because if you're taking the time to put all of that information on your website, it's showing that you have attention to detail. It's showing that you care that the information is being presented to them. So again, it depends on like what you do, but you don't just put one picture and a price. Like that's not going to cut it. I have lots of clients, and I have clients at different levels in the business that do different things. I have some that their websites are absolutely phenomenal. Like you can just go there and be like, wow, this company has their stuff together. And I have some clients that don't even have websites yet because they're just newer in the journey and they haven't gotten that far. And so there's different levels to it, right? But I'm just telling you guys, I see a lot of websites. I see a lot of marketing with contractors, and probably 75% of marketing that's done by contractors is terrible. I mean, it's really bad. Most of it's really bad. I mean, even just this morning in my private group, Facebook group, one of my clients was posting pictures of vehicle wraps because we talk about marketing and stuff. By the way, that's the beauty of being in a private community, is you can get specific help from professionals. But he posted 3 or 4 different options for vehicle wraps for his truck, and in my opinion, they were terrible. Like all of them were terrible, and we were getting feedback on that, right? So you can, like, even, and this particular person I'm talking about has a very successful business even without like vehicle wraps. Like he has a very successful business, and you don't have to have that stuff. Don't hear me say that you have to have a vehicle wrap to be successful. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it helps it make it a lot easier. If you have really good marketing, it makes the selling so much easier. Like if your marketing is like the best it could possibly be, at that point you're not even really selling anything. You're just taking orders. People are calling in and say, "Yeah, I saw your stuff. It looks fantastic. We want you to do our project. We don't care what it costs. We just want you to do it." You're like, "Okay, yeah, we can come out there on this date. This is what it costs. Great." Like when your marketing is that good, you just basically become an order taker and not a salesperson. But if your marketing is not very good, you have to sell harder. It's more difficult to sell a customer on value. Let's see here. I hope I answered your question, Chris. How to price out a project without ordering material? Does that change how you price? I'm not sure what you mean, Matt. Like, are you only doing labor? Is the customer providing the materials? Or are you talking about like ballparking the price when you haven't gotten material pricing? Can you give me a little more clarity on that, please? Owner is ordering the material. Well, the first thing I would say about that, and this is for everybody on the calls, guys, you should absolutely 100% be providing all the materials completely. Like one, you're screwing yourself out of profit, and two, you're giving up control of the entire process. Now, I understand that there's certain circumstances where, maybe you need work, maybe this is a friend, whatever. There's always, certain circumstances, and I'll get to that here in a minute, Matt. But I'm just telling you guys, I have a client that just joined last week, and he does high end, like he's in a very wealthy area that he works in multi-million dollar homes, and he doesn't provide the materials. And I was like, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start providing materials. There's no reason you shouldn't be providing materials. Think about this for a second. Think if you went to a gourmet burger restaurant, where the burgers are like $20, like stupid price. And you walk in and say, "Hey, waiter, I brought my own patties. I want you guys to cook them up." And they're like, okay, yeah, that we don't normally do that, but okay." So you give them the patties, and the chef cooks them up, and you come out and you eat the burger, and it tastes like shit. Well, that's because you went and got McDonald's patties. You got the cheapest freaking patties you could possibly find, and you're expecting this gourmet chef to turn it into this magnificent burger. It's not going to happen, guys. When you let customers buy materials, that's exactly what you're doing, is giving up control of the quality as well as the process. You should never, ever, ever let customers provide materials. They can pick out materials, selections, but you're providing them. You're controlling when they get ordered. You're controlling how much you order. You're controlling when they get delivered, and you're controlling the quality, meaning you have to, like, you can say, if you want tile, you have to go to this tile supply house that I have a relationship with, and you have to get it there. You can't go to Lowe's and buy tile. If you do that, I'm not installing it. So that's how you can control that. But if the owner is ordering, if they're ordering all the materials, you're going to lose out on some of the profit because it's going to be hard, but you just mark up your labor even more. Man, I wouldn't even touch that project, Matt. Home Depot quoted it. Holy crap, dude. You're going to have nothing short of probably 15 different things wrong with that package. I would never ever build a house that was quoted by someone else. Yeah. I'm sure you do, man. You're giving up everything. One of the benefits of providing materials is that you build relationships with your vendors, and two, you become familiar with those types of materials and how they work together and all that stuff, right? So for me, like with tile, because we did bathrooms, and I would, we provided the tile, I did the tile installing. I would not let them pick cheap tile because they're not the same. And if you don't know this, some of you may not even know this, but like certain vendors, certain manufacturers, You could go to we had where I'm at, we had a company called Louisville Tile. They're in multiple areas, multiple states, but we had Louisville Tile was my preferred tile vendor. You could go there and buy, like Florida Tile is a popular brand. You go there and they sell Florida Tile. Well, you can go to Lowe's and Lowe's sells Florida Tile. And it could be the exact same specs. It could be a white tile, 12 by 12 or whatever. And like you go to the Lowe's and they're selling it for $2 a square foot, and the Louisville Tile is selling it for $3.50 a square foot. And you're saying, why would I pay $1.50 more a square foot for the same tile? The reason is because it's not the same tile. What Florida Tile does, and a lot of these manufacturers, is they send their firsts and seconds to the tile stores, and they send their seconds and thirds or whatever to the big box stores. So when they run them through their quality control, if it doesn't meet a certain specification, it goes to the big box stores at a discount. So it looks the same. The tile looks exactly the same. It's cheaper. It's because it doesn't have the same tolerances. It didn't meet the required tolerance levels. So you go buy a box of Florida Tile from Lowe's, and every single tile is a 16th to an 1/8 inch variance in size. And anybody who's ever laid tile knows that when you try to lay tile, especially like a standard brick pattern or a standard pattern, it doesn't match up. So that's just one tiny little thing, especially if you're like building a house or you're building a bathroom where you have 20 different, materials that are going on, types of materials. If you let the customer provide the materials, you give up control of all that. So they go buy that Florida tile at Lowe's, which is not in the right spec, and they want you to install it, and you go in there and you lay it on the shower or floor or whatever, and there's different variations in the grout lines. I don't give a shit how much explaining you do. They're going to say that you did crappy quality work. It's your fault because it's not the tile. I mean, it's from the store. It's all the same. Customers are not that smart. They don't understand that there's differences in the quality, but it's your fault that you have to now deal with. And no matter if everything else is great, if you got grout joints in the floor that don't match up, some are a quarter inch, some are 3/16, some are an eighth because the tile is variance, it's going to make you look bad no matter if everything else looks good. And that's just one tiny thing of controlling the quality of your jobs. Do you mark up the material or just the whole job? I mean, it's just easier to mark up the whole job. The easiest way to estimate is to take your total cost, your COGS, your labor, your material, your subcontractor, any like specific, like licensing and all that stuff, any specific expenses, rent, dumpster rental, whatever. And you just take that number times 2. Like that is the easiest way to estimate. And if you do that, you will have more profits than you could possibly imagine. And if you do it enough, like now instead of doing 20 jobs a year and only taking home $80,000 a year, now you could do like 16 jobs a year. You could do 2 fewer jobs a year or 4 fewer jobs a year and take home 150,000 a year because you can do fewer jobs and make more money. And when you do fewer jobs, you have more control over the schedule and your time because you're not stressed out. You're not freaking stressed out all the time. The reason why contractors run around like chickens with their head cut off is because they try to sell too many jobs, and that's just to make money. That's just to keep paying the bills. If you sell fewer jobs at a higher profit, it makes it so much easier. See, most contractors scale their business out of necessity, not because they want to make more money. They scale because they're not making enough. And so if they only make $2,000 on one job, right? And it's going to, let's say that let's use some basic math here. Let's say you do a job that takes you 4 weeks, 1 month, and you only make 5,000 profit because you didn't bid it correctly. Well, I mean, crap, if you do 12 jobs a year, that's only $60,000, right? Is my math off? Yeah, $60,000. like profit. I'm assuming like you're paying yourself, but you're only making $60,000 profit. But if you do one job a month and you're making $10,000 a job, you just doubled your profit. You're making $120,000 a year profit, and you're not doing any more work. Now, who here, raise your hand, would rather do 12 jobs and make 120,000 versus 12 jobs and make 60,000? Everybody should be raising their hand. But what we say is that's not possible. We can't do that. There's no way that no one's ever going to pay that much money. My clients won't afford that. I'm already too expensive. There's guys that are going to undercut me. People said, there's 3 guys here locally that take my price and cut it by half and blah, 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 blah. I make all these excuses as to why it's not possible. And then you just don't do it. Travis just jumped on here. Travis, you want to go live for a second, dude? And just like, I mean, you could tell this better than I can. I'll invite you. If you're too busy or you can't, that's cool. But I mean, you would be you would know this because of your where you came from and where you're at now. What's up, man? You have to click on yourself and then there's a little button that has video. There you go. Travis joined my group a little over a year ago, right around December, into December, 1st of January last year. So what? How did just change? How did you weren't charging materials? You weren't providing materials, and then you started providing materials. And go ahead and tell your story there. Yeah, right. Because people don't want to be like, oh, I'm gonna get, I want you to come into my $1 million house and do my kitchen, but I want to control all the materials and orders. Like, no, they don't want that crap. They're busy. Yeah, for sure. Have them pick it out, but you're providing it, right? Yeah, speak to a second. You said about you provide a better quality experience. How is that possible? If you're charging people more money, how do you provide a better experience?
get a better quality of service.
Yeah, 100%. Because you're not like I was saying earlier, like you're not trying to sell 3 jobs just to make money, and so now you're dividing your times amongst 2 or 3 jobs. You could sell one job priced right, and you're just focused on that one job. Now you may have like an overlap period, where you're maybe finishing up this one job and getting the other one ready, but you're not doing 2 or 3 jobs at the exact same time, trying to make everything like just so you can make money. You know what I mean? Like just so you can pay bills.
Like me personally, or any crew doesn't have to do 3 jobs at one time. We do 3 jobs at one time, but I have the staff to run 3 jobs at once. But the crew gets to just focus on their one project. At the end of a job, well, maybe crew for us is 2 guys. We might split them up, send one guy on to the next job to start demoing and hauling out materials and go shopping for a couple days while one guy literally cleans and like mops the floor and packs up tools for the other job.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have to do that to make money. It just helps keep everyone effective on payroll.
Absolutely.
So that's super great.
Yeah.
We don't have to rush around like headless chickens to make ends meet. We're just cruising.
So, and I don't want to put you on the spot, and if you don't want to, that's cool. But when you shortly after you joined, you sold a job that you had like priced materials on. You know which one I'm talking about? You want to talk about
Like the
that?
week after I joined, dude. Fuck, man, I bid a job right before I joined, and then the client just kind of shelved it and sat on it for a minute. And I think we weren't running revenue projections at that time. We weren't doing job costing, which was dumb. But and I spent like a week learning what I should actually be doing, and then did it. And the project sat for long enough that I was able to rebid it. The bid expired, and they changed the scope so I could just kind of hide a little fairy dust in here and there, and took it from a 30% gross margin to a 52% gross margin. And while the overall cost of the project went down because they changed the scope, the profit increased by enough to actually pay for the program, which is really cool. And that job turned out poorly, but that's not related to that.
Well, that's one job. I was thinking of a different job that you sold for like $100,000 more than you would have.
That was later in the spring, man. They came at me. We were finishing up a big remodel that we had started in December that we underbid because we were underbidding everything. We had 2,800 square foot house. We did it for $90,000. It was 3 bathrooms, a kitchen, and flooring. And we didn't sell any materials for that job. And we just lost our ass on that job. I lost my paycheck for a month off of that because I underbid it, and that's when it caught up with us. That was going to be the point where if we didn't in that moment start bidding projects better, the company was done. That was the moment it caught up to us. So the next one was a pretty similar scope, a little bit higher end, but talking about, and it was in the same neighborhood. The homeowners would come over and check out what we were doing. They liked us, and they liked what we had going on. And kind of talking about what this one cost. I hadn't bid a project that big before, and so they were like, "Yeah, we're hoping to spend $125,000 by the time we're done." And I hit them with a $133,000 bid, and they were like, "Okay, sounds good."
Wait a minute. So wait, say that again. How much was the bid that you sent?
233,000.
And they said they wanted to spend 160 or 120.
125.
So you sold it for $100,000 over what they said their budget was.
Yeah.
And they didn't flinch an eye at that.
No, they didn't. Yes, we had a good relationship established at that point. And by the time it was all said and done, by the time the project, they wanted to be 125 full inclusive. We were 233, hardly included anything. Almost no materials, because we had to drop materials out of the bid because of where our license limit is. We were at the top of our bid limit. We couldn't bid it any higher. So we dropped materials out to make the bid, And so by the time we were done, they were 325 in the thousand, 200 grand over budget.
Wow, that's crazy. But you know, people's budget, like they just can't afford to go over their budget, right?
There's always a difference between how much money you want to spend and how much money you have to spend. That's, I look at anything like, I just bought a new iPad for work so I can give bids in the field. And I went in there and I'm like, I'm going to spend $400 on the iPad, the normal size one. And then I get in there and I start playing with the 13-inch iPad Pro. I started playing with it and I'm like, wow. And $1,100 later, I'm leaving with a giant iPad. It's the size of my face and an Apple Pencil. Doubled my budget because the product delivered. And it fulfilled. I didn't even know that.
Well, and here's the second part of that is you have the money because you actually make profit that you can afford to just pay $600-700 more for something that you needed or wanted. I mean, you could no, I mean, you could buy the regular one and it would work, but the fact that you could get a little more value, a little more flexibility, a little more enjoyment out of it, and you were able to drop another $700 or whatever. That's part of being able. That's part of having a profitable business, is what I'm saying.
That equipment isn't cheap. We have for when it's necessary, we have like company laptops that go onto job sites. Those fuckers are grand a piece, and it improves our workflow and continues to give our clients a better experience. But we have to be profitable to afford those.
Absolutely. No.
Trucks sitting out in my driveway, $50,000 with the trailers, $60,000 full of tools and equipment.
It's expensive to run a construction business. I mean,
my tile saw goes down. It's a $1,300 saw. My bridge saw goes down. It's $4,000. And if I'm over here charging, if I get paid $30 an hour, if I'm over here charging $37 an hour, I'm not buying a new bridge saw. That project's just not getting done if I can't afford to replace the saw.
Yeah. Well, I know you're a busy man, and I appreciate you jumping on here, Travis. You've had a lot of success. I enjoyed watching your success in the group, so I appreciate it, man. Now try to figure out how to get out of here.
Yeah, kick me off, or do I leave? Like, how do I
get out? I think you can figure it out. Hit the. Yep. See you, man. Appreciate you. So that was Travis. He's, like I said, he was one of our clients, joined a little over a year ago, first of the year, and had a lot of success in his business early on. So that was unplanned. He just happened to be on here, and I just wanted him to share, like, you can charge more. He talked about how he had a project that they wanted 120,000 was their estimated price, sold it for 220 and end up closing around 320. The final project was 200 grand more than what they said their budget was. And so when you're dealing with that level of client, which is the 7, 8, 9, 10 level clients, yeah, they may have like a target of like, I don't want to spend over this, but that don't mean that's what their bank account is not limited by their budget. When you're dealing with low level clients, their budget is limited by their bank account. And so whenever they say, my budget's $15,000, and you're like, really, it's going to take, it's 20 grand to do this project for you. Maybe we can squeeze a couple things out. Maybe we can make it close. And you try to tell them you can do it for 15. Then you get in there, open the wall up, and there's termite damage. Like, it really, for them, you just screwed that client because they really didn't have any more money, right? They were at the top of their budget, top of their bank account. You don't want to sell to bank accounts. You want to sell to dreams, basically, is what I'm saying. So those clients that are saying, yeah, our budget's this, but realistically we can pay more. My wife and I did the same thing 4 or 5 years ago. We were buying a vehicle for her. we weren't buying a brand new vehicle, but a fairly new, and we were looking at Ford Explorers. And we said our budget was $14,000, but we hadn't bought a vehicle in like 6 years, 7 years. We had no idea what the prices were. Long story short, we ended up buying a $32,000 vehicle. We said our budget was 14, and we paid 32 for one. So it's not about budgets, right? It's about what's going to actually people get what they want. So I got to wrap this up, guys. I have to go get off here and pick up my son, but I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, you can send me a message if you want. If you're on TikTok, you can just shoot me a message. Click on my profile. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, just comment and I will read. I'll come back and read the comments and answer the question for you. But I appreciate you guys hanging out. I will say one thing before we go. If you're interested, I do have a new guide that I just dropped last week. It's on how to pre-qualify clients. So if you are getting too many leads and you want a better way to pre-qualify clients, I got a free guide. It's like 20 pages long. I mean, it's pretty detailed. A lot of value in there. You guys can get that. I'll send it to you. Just shoot me a message, a comment or whatever, and I'll send it out to you. I'll get a hold of you somehow. But it's like I said, it's a free guide, how to eliminate tire kickers and get paid for estimates. It's the no BS guide for contractors to get paid what you deserve. So let me know, guys. I'll send that out to you. Appreciate you hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.